Welcome to Her Own Boss, the podcast designed to help you find your inner entrepreneur. Her Own Boss is created by Anissa, Megan, Ben, Lucy, Nikki, and me, Sarah, as we start our careers and learn from the inspiring women who can help us along the way.
Hey everyone, this is your host Nikki, and I am excited for you to hear this special Mother's Day episode with Scarlett Allen-Horton, founder of Harper Fox Partners, finalist of BBC's The Apprentice, business partner to Lord Sugar, and mother, among many other titles. Scarlett shares with us the unique joys and challenges of being a mother and an entrepreneur, how to learn leadership and confidence early in your career, and of course, I had to ask her what it was like to be on The Apprentice. I hope you enjoy this episode, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and mother figures listening.
This episode was recorded as part of the Business in Bloom conference in November 2020. We are so grateful to Becky Shand for inviting us to host this special interview. If you want to find out more about Becky's company, The Bloom Co., and find out more about the next Business in Bloom conference, then visit thebloomco.uk.
Good afternoon, Scarlett. How are you?
Hi, Nikki. I'm very good. Thank you. Hi to everybody.
So I start every podcast with a couple of kind of icebreaker questions. So I thought I'd do the same with you today. Are you ready for those?
I hope so, yes.
All right. So the first one is, have you picked up any lockdown hobbies? If so, which ones?
I want to be one of those people that's like, yeah, I do yoga and breathing, but no, I haven't. It's just meant that I've had to try and become a teacher as well at the same time as like juggling the business, at the same time as doing 100 meals a day. Did anybody feel like they were cooking 1 million meals a day at one point and just constantly cleaning as well? So I'm going to say no, but I hope to do so over the next few days.
Fair enough. I suppose you did have to pick up another profession, acting as teacher to your children. So I think we'll let you off the hook on that one. The second is, would you rather travel back in time or go forward into the future?
I'm not sure about that one, actually. I'd probably say go forward into the future, because I know you can influence what's happened in the past, but I think you don't know what's going to happen in the future. So I think it'd be more interesting to go forward into the future.
Definitely. I think I'd be the same. And the final one is, if a movie were made about your life, who would you want to play you?
Probably Priyanka Chopra, because I just think she's so beautiful, but not just that. She just stands for so many incredible things and does so many so many good causes and supports so many businesses, and so yeah, she's incredibly talented. So I would love her to play me.
Yeah, I think that's a really good shout. So kind of to move on to the business and the main interview, so to speak, I'd love to start off, Scarlett, by understanding more about who your motivators are, both at the start of your career when you were just exploring entrepreneurship and also now as a successful entrepreneur.
I mean, I had my children quite young, so I was pregnant at 19 and I had my other daughter, 2 daughters, my other one at 23. And I moved out of home at 16 as well. So I knew very, very early on, there was nothing more motivating than thinking, I've got loads of bills to pay, I need to make sure I can eat. And now I've got children to feed. So that was probably the biggest motivation, a bit of desperation, to be honest. I also just watched my mum work really, really hard, and I just felt like she worked so many hours and there wasn't that much that was always gained on the back of it. So that kind of made me look at things a little bit differently as well. But yeah, they're the key motivators: children, family, and desperation at first.
Yeah, definitely really strong motivators there. And you've kind of started to touch on it, but in addition to being an entrepreneur, you're also a mother. So what lessons are you hoping to teach your children about life and about work?
I think a few things. I think about life, you've got to work hard. I really, really do believe that. You've got to work hard at what you do, put your all into it. And if you want to be successful, then it needs to be a real focus area for you and whatever you're trying to be successful in, that nothing comes easy. But the other thing I would say with my children is to be responsible. You have to be responsible. And what I mean by that is that we can't sort of go around, and I'm very passionate about this, but we can't go around and saying, well, it's more difficult sometimes for women to get to certain positions, because I talk a lot about that in my business and my personal life as well, actually. Or, certain elements can be more difficult for us. How do we actually change that? How do we take responsibility and we empower ourselves to make things happen, and not accept what we've seen before? How can we change that? And yeah, I'm very passionate about talking to them about doing that. They need to make those moves, even if you can't see that happening around you.
Yeah, those are some really, really great lessons. And I have heard a few times people say, you know, I feel like sometimes I fail at being both a mum and being an entrepreneur or being a businesswoman. And while I can't offer any advice as a mum, I'm not one myself, but, you know, as a daughter of a mum who was very ambitious with her career, I can say that you're all doing a lot more than you even know and teaching your children more than you probably even realize. But just kind of touching on this topic of being mum and being career woman, do you have any advice for other mothers who are trying to juggle all of those things at once?
I think it's a really, really tough gig. There's no doubt about it. I think especially as women, sometimes we feel like we're expected to be like these amazing cooks, you know, incredible, I don't know, meant to look incredible all the time. We're meant to be these incredible teachers to our children. Then we're meant to be businesswomen as well. Then we've got to post on Instagram. And sometimes the pressure is just so intense. But I think, you know what, in terms of the juggling, just focus on what you're focusing on at that time. So when I'm with my children, I'm with my children, and when I'm at work, I am at work. And you know, whatever kind of I'm focusing on at that time, I try and put my devoted energy into that. And then I think a way maybe to try and ease the mom guilt sometimes is that it's quality time, isn't it? You know, sometimes you can be present and you're so busy cooking and cleaning, or that's such a generalization, but I don't know, whatever you're doing, watching TV, whatever that might be, and you're not always present with your children. So even like today is a good example. Like I've been at work obviously all week. I've come into the office today. I know I've been part of this event, but I've been working. But I made sure this morning in bed, I was talking to my children for an hour. They were both in bed, jumping on me, and we were talking about all sorts of different things. And I thought, at least I'm present in this time with you, and then I'll go and spend time with them afterwards properly. But just being present and trying not to feel guilty about that, because we're all trying to achieve so many different things, and they can see that. You know, my children will talk to me, oh no, you work really hard, and actually I want to do X, Y, and Z on the back of it, and we are their biggest teacher, aren't we, at the end of the day?
Yeah, you're so right. And again, speaking as a daughter, I can't say that I ever felt less loved than my mum because she was the one at work and not the one at home. You're right. Children do see all of the incredible things you're doing, and it is very inspiring. So yeah, definitely look up to you and to all the other women on this call. To kind of take a look back towards the start of your career. So I was listening to a previous interview that you've done, and you said that a really big learning experience for you was when you were made manager of a group of women who were kind of older and a bit more experienced than you.
Yeah.
Could you kind of describe this situation a bit more for context for all the listeners, and then also share what it taught you about leadership and about confidence?
It taught me a lot. Those women taught me a lot. Do you know, it was so I went and worked for Virgin. It was kind of my first proper corporate job. I'd done all sorts of different things before, but it was my first corporate job. And I went in, it was just a call center role. But I'd done really well in this call center, and I got like, you know, the top performer or whatever. And anyway, I was in this team at first. So it was a team that I was actually in. And I was the newest person in the team. And like we said, a lot of the females in that team, most of them work part-time. I actually work full-time, but most of them work part-time. That's why it was an all-female team. And a lot of them were older, and they were mums, all of that stuff, some grandmothers. And I went in, and at first, you know, got on really, really well with the team. And then our manager, I think, went on, I can't quite remember now, I think went on sick leave, and they were looking for somebody to step up. And I was like, this is my opportunity. I'd really like to do it. So I got offered this secondment, which I was only like, I think it was before I had my daughter. So I was like 18, I think, maybe turning into 19 before I was pregnant. And I thought, right, oh my gosh, this is my amazing opportunity to step up. And literally overnight, from what went to be like 15 great friends, and we all got on really well, naturally, overnight they were like, huh? Because number one, I was at least 10 years younger than most of the women on that team, and number two, I was the newest person on the team. So it was definitely an interesting experience. But actually, you know, of that, what I found was, if you just, you know, I found that I just thought, no, you know, I'm gonna continue with this and just be consistent and be authentic and make it a collaboration. And I'm very much about servant leadership and about, okay, how do we best understand our team and how do we serve our team members or our employees? And actually, in doing so, you often get the best out of people. And what I found very quickly is that I gained their respect. So, and then actually, you know, we went on as a team to be literally the top performing team in that centre for probably about 2 years. And then I went into an operations role. And I still speak to quite a few of those women today. So, you know, but gosh, it was a baptism of fire. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I bet. And, I don't know if I speak for anyone else, but being a young woman, sometimes you are put in situations where you look around and you're like, okay, fair enough, maybe I'm the only woman in this room, but I'm certainly the youngest person as well. And that can be quite daunting. And it's something that makes me feel imposter syndrome. I'd be interested to know if you felt any imposter syndrome in that situation, and how you kind of got over that, I guess, to then take charge as a leader.
I think I've felt imposter syndrome in every element of my life. So whether that was in that scenario, most definitely, or whether that was at the school, because actually I'm not a mum at the school every single day. And I'm not, I'm the mum that will forget it's non-school uniform day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, get back in the car, we'll go around the block. I'm that mum and I'm accepting of that. Or whether it's when I'm doing a big pitch in a boardroom and, the whole boardroom is full of middle-aged white males. I'll give you an even more interesting probably example, or whether my children's dad was in prison for a long time, for 8 years, and whether I was in the prison waiting room with my children and thinking, I don't want to be here, I don't feel like we should be here. So this every single element of my life, I would say I felt that imposter syndrome. But I think now, as I'm getting a little bit more older, it's probably just owning who you are and being more true to who you are. And I've heard about authenticity a lot today, actually, and I really agree with that. I think it's actually just owning your own truth, and when you're able to do that, then actually it doesn't really matter that much whether you feel like you fit in or not. It's more about you owning it than worrying about what other people think.
Yeah, and I guess another thing to remember as well is that so many people do feel imposter syndrome, even though you looking at someone else might think, oh my goodness, like they are the perfect mum, the perfect entrepreneur, the perfect whatever. Chances are they're probably feeling some imposter syndrome as well. And that's something that I always find quite comforting when I start to get those feelings creep in.
Yeah, for sure.
So kind of jumping forward now to another career milestone when you were on The Apprentice, which is fantastic. Really excited to be interviewing you.
Thank you.
And one thing you talked about while on The Apprentice and then also afterwards was this idea of taking a calculated risk. Could you explain to us what you mean by a calculated risk and maybe some examples of where you've had to do that throughout your career?
I think I'm all about calculated risks. Number one, I think to be successful and to kind of further yourself, you need to take risks. Some of those risks will pay off, and some of those risks are just massive learning and kind of growth milestones for you. So that's the first thing to embrace. But I also think there's a difference between maybe being stupid and being brave. And I like to think it's more erring on the side of being brave. And, if you believe in what you're doing and you feel that inside as well, then go for it, but just make sure that you know what the consequences could be and you can live with those if things don't work out. That's the calculated side of it.
Yeah, I think it is really important to kind of draw that distinction between a calculated risk and just being, perhaps a bit naive and just jumping into things without really thinking about it. I'd be interested to know if you have always wanted to be an entrepreneur, or if this was kind of a gradual journey and perhaps in itself becoming an entrepreneur was seen as one of those risks for you.
I always knew that I wanted to work for myself. I always knew that, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do for ages. And so kind of for years, probably since leaving school, I'd be like, oh, what do I want to do? Or what am I good at? And I'd be trying to think of different, and probably you ladies can relate to this, trying to think of different business ideas, like every day, what can I do? And then sometimes they're driven by different things. So at first it was like, how can I be a millionaire? How can I make loads of money? How can I get people to buy this product that I've created in my head? And that's great. There's a space for that. But then I suppose it's changed a little bit now, and I've linked that a lot more to kind of purpose and actually what's important to me and what are the drivers and passions within me, and how can I bring value to other people and impact other people's lives, but also align that to my own business as well. So I've definitely gone kind of down that route. But just in answer to the entrepreneurship side of things, I think I always thought I was in charge at school. I think I thought I was a teacher, and I definitely wasn't. And it's bit me quite a few times, but I kind of always wanted to be the boss, but now actually I'm very keen to be around people, and I touched on this earlier, who are better than me. Now I'm like, well, I need to be around people in their lanes that are better than me so I can learn from them. So my viewpoints change somewhat. But yeah, I don't know if there was a complete turning point. I think it was more that I just knew I wanted to do it, and it was just waiting to see maybe when the best time would be and what the business proposition would be.
Yeah, and would you say that kind of signing up for The Apprentice or applying to be on it was part of that desire to be around people who are better than you and challenging you? And how did you see that fit in with your journey as an entrepreneur?
I went forwards for the Apprentice just kind of on a whim. I was working on my business late at night. Yeah, honestly, working on my business late at night at like 10:30. And then I literally saw Lord Sugar. I was going to say Sugar then, but it'll tell me off. Lord Sugar appear on the TV, and he was like, "It's your last 30 minutes." I can't remember. We've got until 11 o'clock tonight to apply. And I just thought, do you know what? I'm gonna do it. I haven't watched The Apprentice probably for 10 years. It's made me really open. And I just thought, do you know what? I'm gonna do it. Obviously, you really respect Lord Sugar, Karen Brady, Claude. You really respect those guys. And I did, and I did it on a whim. And then I kind of kept going through each process, because it's quite a long process, and just saw it really as like an exciting challenge. I wasn't taking it too seriously, up until the point actually where they were like, basically we would like to offer you to come on the show, but we need to do some background checks. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And because up until that point, I was even like, oh my God, it's an absolutely incredible opportunity, which it absolutely has been. But I was also like, oh my gosh, it would mean leaving my children, which I've never left them before. I just pretty much launched the business. And I thought, who's going to look after the business? You don't earn any money from going on that show. So I was thinking, I need to make sure that money is still coming in, all of that kind of practicality. And then what they said is they want to do these background checks. And then it kind of materialized that they would need to go and speak to my children's dad to make sure it was okay that I could go on the show, and kind of it was okay given his circumstances. We're not together, but it was okay given his circumstances that I could go on the show. And I think I just thought at that point, I am so fed up of this being my story and kind of people assuming, oh, you're young having children, or oh, their dad's gone to prison, or you moved out of home young, or whatever statistic that might be. And just thinking, no, I am not anymore going to be dictated to based on what has been a past situation or what has been a circumstance that I've been born into, or whatever that might be. And that for me was kind of when I got the go ahead, didn't even debate it. I was like, right, okay, I'm going to do it. So that was more the process, which might be a bit of a different process in comparison to some of the other candidates.
Yeah, I think it's so true. Whatever your story is, your struggle is, that I think that moment where you decide you are going to be in charge of what happens next in your story, it's just, it's a great moment. So what would you say the hardest part of being on The Apprentice was? Was it, being away from your children, worrying about the business? Was it the tasks put in front of you? I'd be really, interested to get some more insight into that process.
No, it was absolutely fantastic experience. Like, they put you on your toes every second of the day. You're woken up at like 3 a.m. You don't know what time it is. You don't know what day it is. People make silly decisions because you can't use your phone or even use Google or I don't know, a sat nav or whatever. But I have to say, I genuinely thoroughly enjoyed the whole process. I think probably the hardest part for me, probably a couple of things actually. One, a silly thing, just getting up and you have to be out the house in like 15 minutes. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that was more stressful than some of the tasks.
How am I going to get ready?
Oh my gosh. But the second thing was, I realised when I was there, and I get on really well with all the candidates. We're in a group chat and all of that stuff. But I realised that a lot of people, I guess they want to make sure that they seem like they're fitting in. And I realised when I was in there, I didn't really care that much about that. Like, I just wanted to be myself. So I didn't want to kind of, I don't know, be trying to please different people or acting in a way that was outside of my character. When it comes down to, I don't want to be fake. That's what it actually comes down to. I didn't want to be fake. I haven't got any interest in it, or sort of play the game. So I found that a little bit more difficult. Whereas I think some of the others were, they could play that game better. But aside from that, I got on really well with everyone. And honestly, it was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, that is really, really cool. And I guess what were your biggest learnings coming out of that you would, I guess, advise other entrepreneurs?
To try different things. So I'd kind of only done what I'd done, and I was trying to get better at that. But I realised actually when you try different things and you're put in these different scenarios, that you can be really good and bad, but really good at some other things that you never thought you were good at. So until you try these things, you don't always know exactly what your talents are and actually where you'll be really good. And I think the other thing that I learned, and probably more about myself, is that I can be really calm in situations where for other people it can be very, very stressful. But I think that is just because of dealing with different kind of circumstances. But yeah, it was it really was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So I have one question, again, based on your experience in The Apprentice, that I'm hoping will help some of the women on this call. So I'd love to hear what your top tips are for someone that's trying to pitch their business for support.
Believe in what you're doing. I think if you believe in your brand or you believe in your business and what you're creating, then actually you'd be more than happy to talk about it, and you kind of know some of those difficult questions because you believe in what you're actually doing. Stay calm, try and stay calm and focused on what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it. And I would probably say, be yourself, and being yourself, then that will be engaging for some people and not engaging for other people, and that's okay. But be authentic to who you are as well, because whoever you're pitching to, you want them to have the same objectives or the same alignments with the business as you have got also, and then they are the right partners then for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's some great advice. So to kind of fast forward a little bit, so now you are director of Harper Fox Search Partners, and that company recruits the best leadership in various industries, including energy, transport, and engineering. I'd love to hear how you are also trying to increase diversity and leadership in these industries and where you kind of got that passion from.
Yeah, so this is a big driver for me, and this is one of those points of kind of combining business with passion as well, and trying to do it in the right way. I suppose in terms of what we're doing, so we have a proposition that we put to our clients. There's a lot of, especially big corporate businesses at the moment, that have these big agendas where they're trying to increase more females within their senior leadership positions and more ethnic minorities. We're obviously really passionate about that. So we will team with them and really look at how we go about doing that. And for us, we actively will source and look at different skill sets, basically, that will be able to be transitional. So that's kind of what we do. In terms of where the passion came from, after leaving Virgin, I touched on that I went then to another big global recruitment organisation, and it was predominantly white male. And I think the first thing that I thought, I remember actually feeling really upset one time there. First thing that I just thought was, am I ever going to be able to get to the top of this organisation? Am I ever going to be in a senior leadership position? Because absolutely no one looks like me, and nobody's got the same circumstances as me, and just really struggling to understand who I could even talk to about that and who would be able to relate, because the realities were, it was almost a bit fantastic organisation and I learnt loads of things from there, but the reality is the culture of that organisation at that time was very much like a lads club, like an old boys club. So even to be a female on that kind of sales floor, it was at the time, was different. And they'd be talking about different women they'd slept with the night before, and look at her and look at that, all these judgments. And even when I have to be completely transparent, even when I was liaised with some of my clients and you'd be speaking to them, they're sort of looking you up and down and all that. And I just knew really early on, right, I need to make sure that I am taken seriously here and that I am respected. How do I get respect within this kind of environment? And the best way that I could think to do that was to be the very best that I could be and be better, simple as that. And then they couldn't argue with that because the stats wouldn't lie. And that's what I did. I went on to be the top performer in that organisation. And at that point, I thought, right, okay, I'm working 7 a.m, 7 p.m. And I thought, right, I've got 2 children. I'm not even getting to the nursery. My mum's having to support, all of that guilt. And I thought, I'm going to go and speak to the managing director who's got a young family and say, I need to just reduce my hours a little bit or work from home a bit. I've gotten to this point in the organisation. And we used to have a 45-minute lunch break. And he said, okay, Scarlett, you can have a 30-minute lunch break. And I remember just thinking at that time, if this is the level of flexibility that there is for someone like me who's gone in, who's proven herself, who's, over and achieved, and I can have 15 minutes leeway, then I need to make change, because this cannot be the only organisation that's functioning like this. And it turned out that obviously a lot were. And I went on to be the diversity and inclusion champion, and led a lot of EDI campaigns within that business, and flexible working and remote working opportunities, and really tried to make change within the culture in a positive way. But what that did for me was then made me think, no, when I do forge my own business, I've experienced this myself. I've gone out and I've spoken to clients, and then they're like, why aren't women in senior leadership positions? And then think, no, I'm gonna be that change. I'm gonna be that change. And how do we add value? And sometimes it's naivety, in all honesty, because they haven't got those diversities within those decision-making positions.
Yeah, completely. And I think that the confidence that it takes for you to, go and speak to your managing director and hope that he will be able to relate to you as a father as well. It takes a lot, and not everyone has the confidence to do that. So the fact that you did it and then turned what could have been a very, I guess, discouraging situation into something that was going to make life easier for other people is fantastic. Do you still find it challenging when you're in male-dominated situations or positions within your career?
No.
Tell us more. Tell us how you did it.
Because to be completely honest, Nikki, that's every single day. It is every pitch that I do, or every client that I deal with, or the vast majority of candidates that I deal with are all male. So it's quite normal. If anything, I'm more sort of, if it's someone that's female, I'm more like, oh gosh, I hope she respects me. I hope she thinks I'm good. So no, but taken away from that, I think it's less probably worrying or thinking, and this goes back to imposter syndrome a little bit, doesn't it? And thinking what other people are necessarily thinking about you, and more thinking, well, what am I doing to be the best that I can possibly be? And if you come away and you think, well, I've done my best, and you can't ask for any more than that, or I've learned from that scenario, then that's all you can ask for.
And in seeking out more diverse leadership, whether it's for your clients that you kind of recruit for or for your own team, what do you look for, whether it's diversity of experience or the talents that they have? What are the kind of key features that you look for that other women should be looking for in their leadership teams?
I think you want diverse perspectives, ultimately. So in whatever shape or form that comes, it's not always about ethnicity, it's not always about gender, it's just about having diverse perspectives. And when you've got diverse perspectives, you've got different ideas, and you've got different ideas, you've got different solutions. So, and we know that, it contributes to a much more engaged, profitable workforce, simple as that. But secondary to that, I would just say you want to create an environment where people can be authentic. And I know we talk about that a lot, but I think now actually in a positive way, you can really see that's changing, certainly over the last 10 years, where people can much more be authentically themselves, and it's much more accepted to be so.
Yeah, that's all really great advice. What would be your biggest tip for creating a working environment where everyone feels comfortable to contribute?
It's all about culture. So it needs to be where people can feel that they can be their authentic selves, and it's going to be accepted, and it's okay to talk about that in an appropriate way, obviously. But yeah, it's all about setting the right tone for the culture of the business, and making sure it's open and it's accepting, or actually not accepting when something's not right, and actually that is dealt with very quickly as well. But yeah, that's what I'd say. And understanding as well at root level what people think, how they feel in the business. So whether that's through confidential employee surveys or feedback, really kind of understanding what the culture is at the moment, where the organisation or you want your business to be, and then what changes need to be made in between, and putting tangible effort into making those differences.
Yeah, how would you say that you do that within your company? So some of those things you mentioned there around kind of anonymous or confidential surveys, is that something you implement? Is there kind of any advice you'd give to other women who are leading their businesses, or even creating teams for the first time, to really set themselves up for success in terms of that culture point?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a few different questions there, but I think if we go down the female sort of leadership perspective, I would say this is a super generalization, but I think as women we can apologize more. So let's just stop apologizing. So when we're actually, I saw something that I thought was really good, and it was like, when you're running late, instead of saying, look, sometimes you need to say sorry, don't get me wrong, but instead of saying like, oh, sorry, I'm 2 minutes late, thank you for your patience. Straight away you're kind of in a different place with that. I would also say, and I've come across, quite a few different fantastic female leaders as well over the last 10 years. But there's a couple of things that I have noticed, and sometimes I found that some female leaders can maybe come across a little bit more aggressive than actually what they are in their normal life. But I think, sort of, because if you're in a male environment, you might feel like you almost need to match that energy level in a different way. And or actually the opposite, and I've noticed to be a little bit more subdued, and for me, I would just say, yeah, just absolutely be who you are, and you want to be respected for kind of who you are and what you stand for. So I think that's probably the overgrounding message, really.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. So I've got one final question for you, which is a question that I asked to all of our guests on our podcast just to wrap up. What gives you confidence?
It's an everyday battle, but I thought about it in a different way, and it's less about what other people think and more about what you think. So if you care more about what you think than what other people think that probably don't know you or probably don't care that much about you in general, apart from your loved ones, then why are we being eaten up by the things that other people might think about us that don't even know us? So try and let go of that. And you have only got one life at the end of the day, and we don't know how long we're going to be here. So change your perspective, open up your perspective, let go of that, and just think, no, I'm going to step into what I want to do and be brave with it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I agree. I think if we worried less about what other people thought, we would struggle less with confidence.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you everyone for listening in. Scarlett, if people want to get in touch with you later on, where can they find you?
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate it. Just Scarlett Allen-Horton. Any social media handle, Scarlett Allen-Horton, or my business is Harper Fox Partners.
What gives you confidence? Let us know on Instagram by searching Her Own Boss Podcast, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the latest on finding your inner entrepreneur.